when the happy is in charge.
I just got a steel fender from the trailer supply store, and I am super stoked about it. It's just a fender, but it's an awesome fender. Every fender that I've ever purchased there has a really nice radius on what I call the front side of the fender. But on the back side is usually a sharp break and a harsh corner. But this one has a beautiful matching radius on both sides. Why is that so special? Because I will be able to make 2 fenders out of this one fender. Both styles of fenders would need to be modified to make them wide enough for my needs. The other fender would be split in half and a strip of metal would be welded in the middle. That's 2 seams, and I would have to do that to 2 fenders. So that's 4 really long welds that I would have to smooth out. This fender will still be split in half, but a piece will be added to the back sides, and I'll make the flange myself. I get 2 fenders at half the cost and nearly half the work. Now I'm gonna mark the halfway point on this fender, which should be stupid easy. The fender is 9 inches wide. Half of 9 inches is 4.5. Boop. Right? 4.5. 4 doubled is 8. 4.5 doubled is 9. 4.5. And with this square, I'll be able to just drag it all the way around. And drag it all the way around. That's my halfway mark. For giggles, let's just do it on the other side to make sure it's... Ooh, it's not gonna be exactly half. So my halfway point is actually in between these 2 lines. After cutting this thing in half, this thing's a little wonky, so I'm just gonna clamp it down because I need to fill in this entire semicircle. A flat piece of steel is gonna get welded in here because we don't wanna see the tire inside the bed. Now the bed is only 9 inches deep. This is 10 inches right now from the edge of the table, and this total height of this fender currently is about 15.5. We only need 9 inches of this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut some strips of metal out that are 9 inches wide, weld that to this, and then we'll get rid of whatever we don't need on the ends. And you know what I think I'm going to do? I'm actually going to cut it at 10 inches because I might want to break the bottom edge of this panel that we're about to weld in here. If you don't know why, it will make sense soon. These shears are not great for turns, especially sharp ones, but I'm gonna try it anyway. No, not really. I'm gonna use a cutoff wheel. Yeah. So here's one, somewhat ready to be welded. I am definitely, now that I've had a chance to think about it, I'm definitely going to break this right here. And what that's going to do is, it'll give me a lip just like at the bottom of the bed sides that we currently have. These lips will actually be under the bed floor, and it's something for the bed floor to rest on and weld to. So if I do this same lip on the inside of the fender well, then again, I'll have a lip that the bed floor can rest on and weld to. but I don't know how tall these inner fenders are going to be just yet, so I don't know where to place the brake. Determining the height of the top of the fender is about as simple as subtracting the height of the tire from the total height of the bed when the truck is laid out. 26 inches for the bed minus 23 inches for the tire is 3 inches. So if I mount the fenders 3 inches below the bed rail, this means the tire will touch the top of the fender when he lays it on the ground. I don't want that. In fact, I'd actually like a gap. What some don't realize is if you drop the rear end first, the rear tire can actually tuck up further into the fender briefly until the front drops. If you're the type that likes to drag the ass end of your truck, your spinning tire will rub the fender and burn the paint. That really sucks. So for simplicity, let's add another inch. We'll mount the fender 2 inches below the top of the bed. A fender that's 2 inches below the top of a 9-inch bed is a 7-inch tall fender. So we'll make a side plate that creates a 7-inch tall fender tub with an extra inch for us to fold over at the bottom.
I'm on my way to Justin's shop because I no longer have access to a sheet metal brake. But do you know who does? Did you guess Justin? Justin has a sheet metal brake. A brand new sheet metal brake. It was still in the packaging the last time I was there. Maybe I'll even get to be the first one to use it. It looked like a pretty decent unit. I'm hoping it's going to be able to bend 16 gauge sheet metal because the one that I had not all that long ago could not have done what I need to do today. Mostly because some of the pieces are so wide, and the wider the piece is, the harder it is on the sheet metal brake. Meaning, if you bend a 1-inch piece of 16 gauge sheet metal, it'll do that fine. But when you try to bend a 36-inch piece, like what I have today, it can't do it. So we'll see.
Oh my goodness. Oh wow. Have you used this yet?
Uh-huh.
You have?
If you watch my latest video, you would have seen me making a very small piece of metal to promote my Weld Metals Online limited production run of pocket squares, which I just gave to you. Thanks for watching.
So that's beefier than it looked in the package. I'm not so concerned that it's going to be able to...
Watch your steps, sir.
I was just chatting on the camera on the way over here that mine was not able to do a significant length of 16 gauge.
What do you got?
I don't have anything anymore.
Oh, you're talking about how the one you don't have is not capable of doing what you need it to do.
Yes.
Nice.
But if I still had it.
But if you still had it.
It still wouldn't be able to do it.
I wouldn't go all the way. I'd pull it out and check it.
This longer piece will be for the inner extension of the wheel tubs. I'm breaking it to create a lip that the bed walls will spot weld to. On that lip, I'll mark every inch, which will help me stretch it evenly. Stretching this lip will gradually cause the piece to bend, and I will continue stretching it until the arch matches the curve of the fender that I bought. Well, that was the plan anyways, but my stretcher isn't playing nice with this 16 gauge steel. So the shrinker stretcher is definitely working, but what you can't tell in time lapse is this is taking forever, and I have so much more to go, and there's 2 of them. I have an idea for a tool that might get this done quicker, but it's gonna take some time to build, so I'm trying to decide. Ah, man, that just seems stupid to me. but this is taking way too long. But if this tool works, I can use it for other things as well. I don't know what to do. I think I'm gonna build it. When it's absolutely imperative that I get the threads perfectly straight up and down, kind of like on this project right now, I will line up the drill press with the drill bit that I used to make the hole, and then I will put in the tap that I'm going to use into the drill press. The drill press is not strong enough to tap this out, but it will bite and it will start perfectly straight up and down, and then I will do the rest by hand, and it'll probably get crooked and this whole thing will be pointless. I only tap the 2 holes that I think I'm going to use. And if I'm wrong, then I'll tap whichever ones I think I need next. But I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this until I know that it's going to work. I'm using this piece of bigger tube to center the smaller tube on the bigger tube. Hopefully that makes sense, because I need this and this to be at the same height. A perk of being a Toyota Lexus specialist is I get a lot of these old timing belt idler pulleys. My brother is also a Toyota Lexus specialist, and together we collected a 5-gallon bucket full of these before we decided we had enough. I use them all the time though, so I'm not ashamed that I hoard them.
Well, it's kind of working. I'm getting more of a bend than I was with the shrinker stretcher, and yet it's kind of not working at all. So what's happening is it's curving more, but in the process, it's kind of unfolding this edge. This used to be 90 degrees, and now it's not. And what happens as it starts to unfold, begins to drag on the side right here. And it makes it not want to move. I had to pull it out and hammer it back down to 90 degrees so that I could continue on. And it almost seemed like when I did that, it straightened the whole thing out again. I have an idea how to prevent it from unfolding. I'm thinking about putting a couple bearings on top that will roll against this corner and hopefully prevent it from unfolding while simultaneously bending it. But I've already spent an hour on this and it doesn't work, so I'm having a hard time convincing myself that another 20 minutes is worth it. It was just taking so long on the shrinker stretcher, so... Whoops. Well, I just screwed up. I was going to drill and tap these holes just as I did in the front, but I forgot I drilled something else since I made these. And I just made these holes way too big to tap, which I think is okay. It's actually going to be quicker to just put a nut on the inside if I can reach it. Tapping takes a long time, so I ain't mad about it. Goodness, so much easier. Happy accidents. That is one crazy looking contraption. Ooh. Ooh. Oh my goodness, I think I'm liking it. I need to put some gloves on though. Definitely need some gloves. Oh. Getting too excited, I think. Trying to advance it too far, too fast. Oh my goodness. Oh, this is freaking awesome. Takes way too much strength, but oh, this is so cool. Oh boy. Yes. Oh, this is so good. I wonder if I went too far already. I did go too far, but barely. Oh, that was so fast and so easy. I'm tired, but oh, that's awesome. What a good day. What an amazing day. That is so cool. About an hour and 20 minutes to make that thing, and it seems to work just fine. May need a couple adjustments. This is still not quite 90 degrees, but
I think that is totally fine. Oh, so happy right now. I trace the arch of the fender onto my workbench as a reference so that I can quickly check the piece I'm working on as I roll it. So that worked better than I ever could have hoped. Super happy with that. So I think I'm going to start by welding on the wall onto the inside of the fender. To do that, I'm going to need an absolutely flat surface to work on. So I'm going to get rid of all the debris on the workbench, anything that might hold stuff up. And that's also going to include things like this. That's not okay. So I'm gonna grind those off, make sure everything is perfectly flat. The reason I cleaned off the entire table is so that when I clamp everything down, I've got the fender completely clamped down to the flat table, and I have the inner piece also clamped down. I just realized I found inner piece. Doesn't feel as good as I thought it was going to. Anyways. Inner piece is clamped, fender piece is clamped. That will ensure that on the other side, the part that's touching the table is perfectly at the same height. I will tack it on the back, and then the front will be completely smooth, and it'll make it really easy to weld and a lot less work when it comes time to finishing the metal. Yeah, that's nice. Almost perfectly flat. A couple very minor edges right there. If I weld this up nice, it shouldn't take much work at all to just flatten out the welds and make this perfect. Now it's time to connect the piece that we rolled. This would be a pain in the butt if I didn't have these. These are some sheet metal clamps. I don't remember where I got these. So I'm gonna look on Amazon and see if they have something like this so that I can give you guys some sort of a link. These are really helpful for attaching two pieces of sheet metal. Let me show you how they work. These clamps are super helpful, and sometimes they're your only option, like when shaving door handles and you can't use a C-clamp or vice grip style clamps. But they're not really strong, so if you can use something stronger, do that. My locking plier clamps were just a bit short, so I added some material to them to make them work. There's definitely a benefit to owning non-name brand tools. There is no way I'd modify an expensive tool all willy-billy. That was a typo, but I decided to use it. Hey, question. Metal finishing is really tedious and boring for me, but would you like to see a video on it? Let me know in the comments. If I get enough requests, I'll suck it up and I'll make one. The side plate was made to make the fender the proper height. I'm going to use it to mark the fenders so I can trim off the excess. I'm leaving an extra inch here too, so I can make yet another flare. All these flares will allow me to spot weld this wheel tub to the bed, floor, and walls on all sides. The corners can't be bent, so I'll just remove those. Just like the sheet metal in the bulkhead in the previous video, I bend thick sheet metal by first scoring the metal with a cutoff wheel and then bending it by hand with some hand seamers. I think these fenders are complete, and I'm super excited to see what they look like in the bed. Yeah, buddy, just like everything else I make, they're imperfect. One fender is like a 1/4 inch longer than the other, so I'm going to position them and then trace around them so I can cut some perfect openings. But I'm going to do that in the next video. Until then, keep moving forward, my friends.